mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
So you know how every now and then people kind of manifest into your life? You're not sure how it happened, but it definitely happened for a reason. Well, about a year ago, I stumbled upon Natanya Wachtel, who is a media executive. She's super cool. Been on the air, done journalism. I mean, she's in the club that no one wants to belong to because her husband unfortunately passed away from cancer. She's since remarried, has an amazing family, and she's esoteric and eclectic and hard to define. And you're going to experience her pretty soon because the name of her show is called The Natanya Experience. She's a lived experience expert. You know, it's all the shit you didn't expect to go through that formulates who you become as a person. You're going to love her. So without further ado, prepare yourself for the Natanya Experience. Natanya, you have the Natanya Experience, and I can assert that you are indeed an experience.
Here's how we're starting. Okay.
Yeah. Out of the gate. Come on. Shots fired.
You know, I didn't name it. That is, I try and say that. You know, I'm not so full of myself I named it that, but it is an experience. And I'm I'm happy to share it with you and be here with you today.
Once again, I attest you are an experience. So how did you become an experience? We got two divergent minds here on the show. This is going to go lots of places. What made you you? You born this way? Adapted? Parenting? Environment? Traveling the world? Not knowing anything?
All of the above. I still don't know. And if there is someone who wants to analyze this from afar, there is quite an extensive catalog since I, like you, talk a fair bit.
Loquacious strategy,
cunning linguist, whatever phrase floats your boat. But I was an investigative journalist. I worked in Big Pharma. I dabbled in a bunch of things and kept feeling like nothing felt quite right and always thought there was something wrong with that. Always felt kind of like I didn't fit anywhere because, like you said, I'm a little bit theater, but I also like math and science and sports, and then hip hop and things but I look like a suburban soccer mom. So things that just didn't go together. And because we're contemporaries, and I think if your audience is anyone born, let's say maybe before 1985, that's
most of them.
That's kind of what I thought, behavioral strategy and all, but meaning that we used to probably navigate and define ourselves in smaller boxes around who we are. Nowadays, with social media, we're constantly curating these selves, and it's actually okay to be 37 identities of who you are, and that's like sort of more normal, in fact, to be that way. So I'm kind of happy to be around
Maybe
this time.
Maybe not in Alabama.
Maybe not in Alabama. But when I was a kid, it was like sort of like, who are you and where do you fit? And it was nowhere and everywhere.
Were you a gifted kid? Like
you
we
mean
can't
like
say that anymore.
Gifted and talented? Yeah, I was, of course.
Like back in the day, like you could be like special meant something different back then. Like you were gifted, talented, you were ahead of. I went to a special elementary school for gifted children. Like you can't get away with that anymore. You can't be. You have to be homogenized.
Yes, that's true. I feel like they were. Well, they didn't know what to do with me, but they would just give me upper grade work, and I, move through the grades and stuff.
Did you have to study, or just everything came to you?
I mean, if I'm honest, no, I did not study.
Yeah, see? I predicted that.
Yeah. I also had, my memory is really good. So like real footage, like pretty good. Like I just see it one time. Just how I was able to do like the play and everything from soccer practice, because I would just run there and, only read it once, but I knew what to say kind of thing. So unfortunately, as I age, I don't have quite that level, but I do have sort of like, on Tuesday at 3 p.m., like I just did for you before, I was like, no, I was standing by the pool. It was this date. We talked about these things. And I can kind of tell you back, like a monologue, back the entire conversation from 10 months ago.
I think that's a mom woman thing because my wife's the same.
Yeah.
Like, remember that time we went to this place?
We're basically court reporters all the time. Right. I did that
She's
job.
She's a stenographer of my life.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I was wearing that pantsuit that time. How do you remember the
And the wind blew at 37-degree angle. That made my earring turn slightly to the left. And I remember that, that's how we are. Yeah.
So when did you fall in love with theater?
Theater. Okay. I fell in love with theater at an early age because I Don't know why, but I know that it's.
How could you not know why you fell in love with theater? You just sang
like
Chicago
singing.
to me on the couch.
I did.
Yeah.
I did some moves, right? I was like, when are we going to do? I need my fussies coming out. Okay. I just love performing, entertaining, made up skits. We weren't allowed a lot of television, or there wasn't television in, depending on where I was living at the time we're visiting with. And I had we didn't speak a lot of English in the home. So it was doing that kind of stuff was a way to keep busy. I would make fake commercials and shows. I was like the Weird Al, if only he knew all the songs I could offer him that I had made as well about, back when, do you remember when VHS cameras? Wait, I don't even mean like VHS videotape. I mean camcorder, but like when it was still really heavy, like it had a separate battery bag.
Yes.
Like that's how it started. And it was like
an
very
attaché with a thing on your shoulder.
And it was a big deal to borrow it and use that. And I remember like the first one was like not even ours. It was like a neighbor. And then I was like, oh my God, can we borrow that? And I loved it. I love movement. That's partly why also, being injured and being bedridden was so hard for me.
We're going to get to that part.
Yeah.
Don't spoil it.
Okay. No spoilers.
She's a hot mess like us.
Oh yeah. A total hot mess. And so it felt good. It feels very primal even now to kind of just like express exuberantly. And that's kind of what theater is, I think, to me. Although that being said, it's not like I don't have talent like you. I just enjoy it.
Not a contest. Can you play the radio?
Can I play the radio? Heck yeah.
That's the worst musician dad joke ever. Where'd you go to school again?
I went to a lot of school.
Yeah. You are an amalgam of so many things and so many check boxes that you either chose to have or chose you. But where did it start?
Yeah, so you want an origin story of someone who is, a tsunami. It's not a singular point. It's
the bread never had ingredients. It all kind of fluttered together.
Absolutely. It's more a amuse-bouche. No, I mean, it's really, I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I can't believe this is life right now. The thing that's fantastic is that I finally feel like I did that transition from being kind of asleep or in a robotic way moving through life in terms of the boxes that we check for things like career, family, purpose, and then
cohabitating,
everything, and self-worth, skills, like values, everything went up in the air and out the garbage. And a lot of that happened for me through the health journey and through spending a bunch of time at home in the beginning of the pandemic and kind of just saying, I think I need to play more. Thank you, first of all, by the way, because I feel like we started in the middle of a conversation to say thank you for inviting me here.
Well, that's the best way to start, in the middle.
Yeah, that's fair. And
so tell me about yourself.
Oh my God.
Who wants that?
Frick. What's really, really, really cool for me is to be sitting here with you right now and having you kind of reemerge as your full self with confidence, with success, with staff, with a studio. Because when we met, this wasn't here.
Right. We should tell our origin story too.
That's kind of what I'm transitioning.
We were introduced by happy accident. By a common law.
Someone that we
human
knew.
Being. And our first phone call was what it was, but our second phone call was like 3 hours long.
Yeah.
We became like instant therapized.
I was like, this is kind of strange, but I have a really long drive. Do you want to meet at this time? And he was like, actually, I can do that. And it didn't even feel like it was that many hours. It was only that the phone was like, I was driving in the car and I was like, I'm in 3 different states already. We're still on the phone.
Well, it was like, I didn't know you well enough to know what to expect on that second call, because I think we just talked a little bit briefly in the first one. Mm-hmm. And, it wasn't like I had nothing to lose, but nothing to gain. Like, let's figure out if there's anything for us to find common ground. I felt like I could be very honest with you for whatever karmic instinct befell the je ne sais quoi, so to speak. And it was it wasn't harsh, but I was just very honest with you. Like, you could do better, you could be better, you deserve better. Because I was looking at cursory glances of your personality, your history, your media, and it didn't speak you. And I just put my like brand snob hat on and said, you deserve to be so much more.
Thank you. It was we were in different places and had different experiences, but unlike you, I didn't actually step forward into being, hi, I'm Natanya. I'm going to talk to you about me. I had spoken on large stages and platforms and, TV, radio, whatever, sure. But I was always talking about something that was someone else's. It was about science or some paper or a product that I was working on in the pharmaceutical industry or a program that we had done. It wasn't personal, and it certainly wasn't reflective. And it certainly didn't have full personality. The whole time I would always think, tone it down. Don't wear your hair wild. Don't move too much. Don't gesticulate. Don't say anything too colorful in your language. Like the pharma world was very much about assembly line and fitting in, at least corporate for me. And I don't even know how I did it for so long. I didn't really fit in there, but somehow I hung on for a while. And so to come out, and it was basically right before we met when I was a guest on a podcast that went to number 3 on Spotify. And that's when all these people came out. They're like, you need a show. And I was like, what? I mean, I didn't even have photos out before 21 on like LinkedIn. I just looked at the algorithms and I'm like, well, I guess they want me to do this, but like, why? It was very strange. And I'm still figuring out, what do I want to share? What do I not want to share? What do I need to for credibility? What's the purpose of everything? But I think both of us are on a mission to help people with the tools that we have.
So as a psychologist, that's your PhD, right? Psychology?
Yeah.
How does that affect your lens on society and humanity? Are you judging and analyzing endlessly, or have you learned to
I want, in
soften
fact,
the blow?
In fact, I really want to be careful when I say this, such that I absolutely admire and respect all types of clinicians and certifications and all the things that go into making people have, medical degrees. I'm not a medical doctor. I am not currently a licensed therapist, right? I'm really, truly so far from that mindset now in terms of what I take into my daily life. I feel like it's a framework of understanding for me now about how the medical community looks at these things like the DSM-5 and how we define things like anxiety or depression.
I don't know those words.
But I might have picked a couple of choice ones, but I approach them very differently right now. I really want to present myself actually as a student, as a layperson, that all I have is understanding of, I've read a lot of stuff. I've gotten some credentialing, and other credentialing I never finished or it's lapsed, and it's really not something that I imbue into my daily life anymore.
You ever get the whole Dr. Wachtel, oh, what kind of doctor? No, not that kind of doctor.
Depends. I'm Dr. Mom. So,
Isn't every mom, every good mom, Dr. Mom?
Meaning like I pretend I'm a medical doctor at home, like, oh, let me see that cut. It's fine,
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to say what I said before. I don't like focusing on that part. And right now, all I'm trying to be is a human being that sees other people and makes them feel seen and show up in spaces. Like right now, I'm talking to people who I might not have otherwise met. Like I've talked to more people through having this show and getting to do this journalism who have been incarcerated, for example, than I've ever known in my life. Like I know them well. One of the people in my phone who message me are people we see on TV every day. And I know all of their secrets and their problems and their relationship troubles and everything like that. But I'm not the therapist, and I'm very clear. There's a distinction.
Well, yeah,
here.
like how do you turn that off and on? How do you know when to do that? Is that hard? What you've learned?
What's really hard for me, and part of the reason why I'm a quote unquote failed therapist, like I never really fully got off the ground there because I couldn't hack it. Like it was traumatic. And so even now when I do interviews, most of the people I speak to have shouldered quite a bit of horrific experience. And they might be, usually they're in a stable place at the time of the conversation. So they're not like crying or exhibiting like huge stress in front of me, but they're describing, and because I sort of start to see it and feel it in my own mind and body, it's pretty intense stuff. So I can't even do more than like 2 interviews a day because I come away almost in the same feeling that I did when I was trying to be a therapist, which is, whoa, and it makes me have gratitude for my own life and my own support network.
Well, I'll attest that as well. I mean, when I give interviews or I do a keynote or something, the idea of even just doing 2 of these a day for me, I'm exhausted after these conversations.
Yeah, and people are like, you're just talking. What's the big deal?
It's an art. It really is. It's a craft. For me, it's a craft.
It's also energy. So there's like energy to be vulnerable and to express, which are different, right? So there's like...
We're also speaking extemporaneously. That takes lots of brain cells. There's no agenda. There's no like sheet here. Oh, I noticed you did this.
Yeah. I mean, if there was, I wouldn't be reading it, but yeah. I'm like, neither of us like the homework part of stuff.
Why do you say failed therapist? Is that defeatist or is that intentional?
It's a little tongue-in-cheek now. I had a lot of shame about it because I tried like 4 different times. And I would say I'm a therapist and I wanted to do it. I thought that was the way I helped because sort of conventionally in my life, that was what would happen, right? People felt like like you said, like they could talk to me and they could tell me things, or I would intuit or sort of have an understanding or knowing and could relate deeply with things that maybe I hadn't even experienced. And they said they feel better, right? So is that what a therapist is supposed to do, right? Kind of thing. Like I had the idea that that's how that professionally manifested.
Have you ever thought of being your own client?
Actually, that's a great question because that's what I had to do very recently to treat the media endeavor as a business.
Let's get to that because that's a whole other conversation I want to have after the break. So we'll be right back in just a second after these fine words from the fabulous sponsors. I don't know who they are, but here you go. We're back. Self-therapy. Go. How many hours do you have?
I know. Unlimited. No, it's like the taxi, the old school taxi with the meter. And you just stress as like you're sitting in the traffic and the meter's going.
Mm-hmm. I wonder how many people still remember what that actually is like.
Well, like you said, you insulted your listeners and called them old.
Gen Xers. We are old. We're old and fabulous.
Fabulously. Thank you. Exactly.
It's a pleasure to be 50 because I'm alive to be 50. How's that?
That's right.
Everything that hurts is a good problem to have.
No, I mean, if anyone can say that, it's you. And I relate to that too, obviously. But no, I just meant that I would be employed and have staff and resources to brand and market and position companies or products for years and did that. And then when it was about me, it's kind of like the way people aren't really often comfortable or doing their best with their own resume, right? It's about themselves. So they start to feel, you get this analysis paralysis where you're concerned about, well, does this imply this? And what will this person think? Or that kind of need is here. And you don't really know how you're best going to be positioned for your own self. It's really hard. It's why you ask your friends, does my butt look big in this? What is it? I said that one for fun. But, it's sort of that's really difficult. And this is the first time I'm trying to be me a brand. And it's very strange. And I still feel strange about it, honestly. That's why I want us to do a show so we can just do it and I can be with you.
What do you think we're doing now?
No,
it's a show.
I'm talking about the performance.
Oh, okay. Off Broadway.
Off Broadway. Like at one of my events. Well, I can have a grand piano there, no problem.
Let's do it. All right, folks, you heard it here first. I'm going to keep her accountable to that.
I'm pushing it. It's happening.
All right, so sometimes you choose life and sometimes life chooses you. You've gone through the ringer. We've all been beat up a lot, but you got a couple of really interesting ticks and dings and dents in that car of yours. Number one, of course, is the obesity, right? I think you want to talk about that? Because sure. I was profoundly inspired when I read that part about your story.
Okay.
Because people like a hero story, but like we don't choose these things. How do you dig yourself out of a hole you either chose to be in, didn't choose to be in, or was thrown, like when it falls on top of you?
Yeah.
That's something that's worth talking about. It speaks to your character. It speaks to your fortitude. And if I had to give you a cat poster made of macrame, it'd be perseverance. Okay. So, yeah,
are a lot of factors that went into why I became morbidly obese, but I actually had several jaunts with this, and a lot of it had to do with physical injury and paralysis. So not one moment in time, not one thing, but a cacophony of events and certain injuries that were addressed and certain wouldn't. And then as we age, things shift around. So blah, blah, blah. Fast forward to, I'm told I'm probably not going to walk again. I just had twins. They were 15 months old. I had this spinal surgery because I broke my back. I actually also at that time had a hiatal hernia inside the front of the body, but we didn't know that at the time. I just said it hurts here. And that's a great advocacy story, right? Because they're like, oh, you have anxiety, you're hyper, it's fine, just go take a walk.
Awesome misdiagnoses.
For 5 years, and it essentially it's pretty not great. So that wound up becoming something where I couldn't breathe. And because I couldn't breathe, they were giving me, and then the bigger I got, they were like, well, you're big, so it's probably asthma. So inhalers, which weren't working, which became inhaled steroids, oral steroids, all of that, which all exacerbated the weight gain as well as being bedridden.
Right. This was not induced by Krispy Kreme.
I mean, Krispy Kreme helped because when you're stuck in bed, and why not Krispy Kreme?
All right.
Although,
I don't know.
I'm
torn.
When you're in bed, no, because the cancer and sugar are no good.
Yeah.
I know. We're being silly. We should be serious. I was definitely depressed, but because I had some education in the psych stuff, I would be like, I'm fine. Everything's great. I also had histories from sports days and whatever. Turns out I had some swelling in the brain, which is not a shock now. Again, all these things sound kind of wild, but we're one body system and we kind of forget. I feel like we get treated in the healthcare system like a bunches of body parts, right? So you see one kind of doctor for this part of your body and another doctor for another part of your body. And so when you're dysregulated in any way, every piece is trying to fix something, but nobody's really looking at the whole. And yeah, the Krispy Kreme thing comes up because I was bedridden and couldn't breathe. Had just had kids, was a failing as a mom, as a wife, as a boss, all the things. And people come visit you and they bring you food. And so I ate it. And I ate things that I hadn't even eaten in years into the quantities, and you're not burning it off. I had a nurse coming, they would make my legs go up. I had some movement, but I was pretty not moving for a year. So that's how that happened. And how I came back from it was it took 2.5 years to lose the weight.
And you have.
Yeah.
And you kept it off.
Yeah, for the most part.
And you own it. And it's an accomplishment.
I guess I was really embarrassed about it for a long time. And it was only in this year when everyone was like, well we want to, wait, what? Or people don't believe me.
All right. So hot take, Ozempic. Solution, cop out.
I think it's complicated to answer for me because I do think people should be allowed and able to use whatever tools that help them. But I think that my experience and then my study in terms of behavior change makes me feel that if you don't address the root causes of why you may be overeating to a place of obesity and or you're not balanced in your intake of calories in and calories out. And again, I don't mean like you have to look a certain way or be a certain way. I'm just talking about for your optimal health that you might want for yourself. I don't care what size. I don't mean for any of that. I want to be very clear. I don't want to fat shame by any means. In fact, a lot of times I don't recognize my own self. I still think I'm her, even though that was only, a few years of my life. But the problem with things like Ozempic is that it bypasses the signaling. And so then my understanding is from the mechanism of action, especially because I worked on GLP-1s and diabetes, right?
Right.
Okay. And there was satiety we would talk about with amylin and the pancreas, so there's it's artificial. You're not doing it. So then did you learn anything and are you moving any differently in the world or are you, so it's like a mix because it is good and it's good and it has all these other longitudinal longevity things they're looking at. There's other sort of cellular, when you put less stress, and I know that from my brain stuff, which is when I was losing the weight and everything, all of a sudden I felt like a different person. And I also realized I had years of my life that I didn't even remember. And I had to kind of retrain. But the thing with Ozempic is we don't really know what it does to other body systems yet.
It's too new in this capacity, right?
And so for becoming that reliant on it, I think, where these were developed originally was within diabetes, right?
Yes.
And in diabetes, there is sort of, for any, and again, listen, pharma, I still love you. We're still friends. I'm just saying, but in any pharmaceutical or any kind of medical intervention where there's a compound that's entering your body, the FDA in this country is a part of protecting us for this, I guess I'm going to call it risk load balancing. Right? How much harm is there, right? Side effects, risk of other, maybe even possibly worse situation than your actual disease that you're suffering from.
Well, I've seen the TV commercials.
Right. So that all that fine print, all that blah, 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 you might die and have 17 kids and that you don't know about another. Like what? Wait, what? What is that side effect? I don't know. That, yeah.
Wait, I don't want 17 kids.
I know.
All right.
I'm just saying. I don't even know
what medicine is that? Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Right,
just
on.
saying that the side effects seem absurd sometimes. Like you're like, what? So you want to think about like, what am I getting and what am I risking? And so for some people, and I understand this, like I think food, and you and I both talk about this, struggling with this. And I like that it transcends socioeconomic status, ethnicity, who you love, who you worship. Food is the most difficult and the only addiction that you actually still need to engage with to live. And yet it's the most difficult because you have to have food and nothing else. You don't need alcohol.
You can't quit food.
You don't need sex, technically. Like all the other gambling, like whatever it is, shopping, like you need food. And so it's a gray scale. It's a gray zone and you have to develop a relationship. And that relationship is harder to develop when you're artificially making go and stop signals in your body. That's just my opinion. So that's kind of why I don't like it. But I do think I would never want to deny someone that great feeling of feeling a little bit less a slave to the hunger feeling or the feeling of eating or the feeling of being obsessed with food. And that can make a lot of other social things with it, shame, guilt, and then of course all the other things that come from health challenges. I mean, we could talk about things like comorbids, or visceral fat, and all the other benefits of not having that kind of fat in your around your organs, right?
So it's to be determined whether it's going to change habits or not.
Correct.
Right? I think that was your point.
Yes.
Like it's autonomic. It's not habit forming or habit changing.
Right. And I think that's same thing with like other kinds of interventions like gastric bypass or sleeve and everything like that. For some people, why does it work and why doesn't it? Okay, so that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's not for me to judge. Can't tell you if you're good or this thing is good or bad, but I can say, I think it's missing the part about what we do and where in our consciousness we connect to our body and food and how we have that relationship.
And you can't not have a body.
Well,
heads in jars.
I wouldn't recommend it. Futurama might disagree, but
they did a good job showing us that you could be a fabulously good-looking head in a jar.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we talk about your late husband? I think it's important. It speaks to your character. It's another ding in the car that we don't want, and it's informed you. And you've been very honest about what that means.
Yeah. And today was his birth. This is today's house would be 59. This house birthday.
We're going to channel him.
We're going to channel him right here.
Get the Ouija board.
Yeah. And he did pass from, cancer. So it's fitting to be here today. Thank you. It's a hard day. It's a hard day sometimes when I think about it.
I'm glad I'm here with you. It's informed you. It's made you, again, things that you never asked to have happen to you inform you.
Oh, I mean,
they don't define you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not complaining. I want to be very clear. I am grateful. And I really, truly try and say I'm in the wake up club, right? Every day I wake up, it's a good day. That doesn't mean that every single day, and I know I can be annoying. I'm a bit of a cheerleader, like, hey, but I
think I'll go for a walk outside.
Yeah. So some days I'm like, oh my God, what time is it? So it's harder than other days, but I genuinely do try to start like that. And I'm curious because for you every day and every ache, you said, it's a good day. And when you have loss around you, And for me, it was a lot of family members and then my own self sick. And the obesity was also after, and also then a part of through I had my own oncolytic crazy experience. And when you have had to mentally prepare for passing potentially, right? Or having an immediate family member do that. And yeah, for me, I've had both. Like, this is like having the talk with, this is what's going to happen when I die. Like that's kind of rough, in your mind and in those around you who are around. It's kind of what we were saying before we were recording. You just kind of, the only way to move through in lightness, in high vibration, depending on who's into that, who's listening.
Go on.
is to surrender to it. Mm-hmm. And to honor what we can about the physical forms while they're here. So if someone that you love, that doesn't mean we don't fight for them and we don't hope for miracles and we want them to be back to themselves and that kind of thing. But I also feel like, I've done the shaking the fist at the sky. And I mean, I don't really want to talk about it now. And I know you know why, because I need to keep my composure. But, we're dealing with that right now with another family member that's very young. And when it's someone that's young, more layers come, and you had that own lived experience from yourself.
Well, it's trying to reconcile what you can't.
Yeah.
And that's like a little bit of guilt on my part. Why can't I do this? I'll say it this way. I have, for whatever reason, when I was give 6 months to live, we'll see if you hear, I never asked why me. I never asked the question why.
You mean internally or externally or both?
Anyway, I never said, I'm like, all right, well, this is going on now. This is pretty crappy. It's a bump in the road. I never, ever once believed I was going to die. It didn't even occur to me that it was possible that I could die. I was 21 and stupid and ignorant. And
yeah, but I think that's part of why you're here.
Right. But I never asked why. I always said, where am I going to go with this? Like what is why? A pronoun? What are those? Who, what, where, when? Whatever those are. In the English language, people, who, what, where, whatever they are, I never used any of them except where am I going to go with this? Because I can't control it. You said you got to go with the river. You can't dam it up. But you can have free will along the ride.
Yeah, and you can even get off and sit on the bank and watch. It's fine too. Like, you know, but it's your choice. And that's the one thing is we're given choice, but we don't get to decide. We're getting a choice about how we participate, how we respond, but not really about all that happens. And it's not fair. It's not going to be always quote unquote fair, you know?
All right, fact check. I just Googled this. Who, what, where, when, and why are called interrogative. Interrogative? These phonics are failing me. Interrogative. There we go. Oh my God. Give him out a cookie. Interrogative words or question words.
Interrogatories.
Interrogative. Oh my God. I haven't said that word. All right. Listeners, you're welcome. Well, I want to have 11 more podcasts with you. You and I should have our own series. You said you want to. We're going to do it right here in the air, but we're out of time.
That was it. We didn't even say anything yet.
We said a whole bunch of stuff. Where have you been? We just like dug a hole in the earth of conversation. It's crazy.
No, it's like, what do you do when you can't see the future that you want for yourself?
That's a great way to end a cliffhanger episode.
Right? No, that's what we started out with when we met. Mm-hmm. So there's a method to my madness. I mean, I play silly, you know, on TV, but then I'm serious. It's a pattern. So when we met, we were both in a transition, and it's really, really incredible to sit here with you and look at how we move through this world with the time that we have, whatever that may be, and help other people as best as we're able, not because I have this document or this GPA or whatever, but because we genuinely both, right? Like, we care about people and we want everyone to have access to information, resources, and care, and have, like, it's not just about lifespan. It's about
how you live.
How we live it, right? What year. So being able to be silly and stupid with you is awesome. And also to be serious and say, I'm really proud of you as my friend. Really, really, really excited for this journey for you. I know you are helping people, and you're going to continue. You're going to provide them with information, real talk. I love that you're no holds barred. I asked you when we started, I was like, are there any bumper cards? You're like, nope. What are we going to talk about? Not telling you.
You can come back on any show now. My God, thank you for that. What's your website? Is there an official one? Because your name.com is is there anything else we can go to?
I mean, my name.com is fine. I mean, I have the corporate, I have the New Solutions Network. That's our company. And then the Natanya Experience website, I think is still like a coming soon because I don't know. I'm still here, but natanyawachtel.com.
We'll put all that in the show notes.
Yeah, whatever. This is about you for me. Like, honestly, I'm excited to be here talking to you. And I think that I would love if anyone listening to this has a song request because we are going to channel the fabulous Baker Boys. I'm predicting it. It's 2025. I'll say by Q3 the latest. And I think we should get a vote going for what song we do or two. Right, I'm an alto.
All right, folks. I love you so much. Thank you for being here. All right. We'll see you next time on the show. Take care, everyone.
Out of Patience with Matthew Zachary is a production of Matthew Zachary Worldwide. The executive producer is Matthew Zachary. It is mixed and edited by Kyle Moore. If you like the show, ratings and reviews are always welcome wherever you get your podcasts. If you have guest suggestions or would like to learn more about sponsorship opportunities, email podcast@matthewzachary.com. For more information about Matthew Zachary and Matthew Zachary Worldwide, visit matthewzachary.com.